Sutra on Perfect Wisdom, with the divisions of the Abhishamālamkara. Translated by EdwardConze 1904–1979. University of California Press, Berkeley, Los Angeles, London. Chapter 57 Practices. Subhuti. What then, O Lord, is the sameness of the bodhisattvas, the great beings, in which the bodhisattva should train? The Lord. The various kinds of emptiness are the sameness of the bodhisattvas, the great beings. That form is empty of form, too. Enlightenment is empty of enlightenment, that is the sameness of the bodhisattvas, the great beings, having stood in which the bodhisattva knows full enlightenment. The growth which in its own form is the perfectly pure training in skill in means. Subhuti. Does then the bodhisattva train in the knowledge of all modes when he trains for the extinction of form, too? Enlightenment, for the dispassion, stopping, and non-production. The Lord. With regard to what Subhuti the elder has said, what do you think, Subhuti, does the suchness of form, too? Enlightenment, too. The suchness of the tathagata by which he is conceived as a tathagata, does that suchness get extinct, or is it stopped, or can it be forsaken? Subhuti. No indeed, O Lord, no indeed, O well gone. The Lord. When he trains thus, Subhuti, the bodhisattva trains in suchness, trains in the knowledge of all modes. But suchness does not get extinct, is not stopped, cannot be forsaken. When he trains thus, the bodhisattva trains in suchness, trains in the knowledge of all modes. When he trains thus, the bodhisattva trains in the 6 perfections, in the 4 applications of mindfulness, too. In the 18 special Buddha Dharmas, and he trains in the knowledge of all modes. When he trains thus, the bodhisattva reaches the perfection of all training. He cannot be overcome by Mara or the divinities of his host. Quite soon he shall reach the irreversible level. He courses in the range of the Tathagata, which is own ancestral range. He trains in the dharmas which make him into a savior. He trains in the great friendliness and the great compassion. He trains for the purification of the Buddha field and the maturing of beings. He trains for the turning of the wheel of the Dharma, with its 3 revolutions and 12 aspects. He trains so as to lead all beings to nirvana, to ensure the non-interruption of the lineage of the Tathagatas, to open the door to the undying, to make the unconditioned element visible. But inferior beings cannot train to this sublime training. That bodhisattva trains so as to extricate all beings from samsara. When he trains thus, he is not reborn in the hells, among animals, or in the world of Yama, nor in outlying districts, or among refuse workers, or outcasts. Nor is he one-eyed, hunchbacked, or lame, nor crippled, deaf, or utterly destitute or deficient in his faculties. He becomes one who has all his faculties and does not lack any of them. He does not become one who takes life, takes what is not given, commits sexual misconduct, who speaks falsely, maliciously or harshly, or who prattles indistinctly, or who is covetous, harbors ill will in his heart or has wrong views, and he does not earn his livelihood in the wrong fashion. He does not seize on what is unreal or immoral. When he trains thus, the bodhisattva is not reborn among the long-lived gods. And why? Because he is endowed with skill in means. What is that? In this very perfection of wisdom, that skill in means has been explained, which consists in that he enters on the trances, unlimited, and formless attainments, but does not get reborn through their influence. When he trains thus, the bodhisattva incurs the God's dwell, and the achievement of a trance entitles to rebirth among the perfect purity of all the dharmas and powers of a Buddha, because he is perfectly pure of the level of the disciples and pratyeka Buddhas. Subhuti. If all dharmas are by nature perfectly pure, of which dharma does the bodhisattva incur the perfect purity? The Lord. As you say, Subhuti, all dharmas are by nature perfectly pure. When in spite of this fact a bodhisattva, who courses in perfect wisdom, does not lose heart and remains uncowed, then that is his perfection of wisdom. Because all the foolish common people do not know or see that nature of dharmas, for their sake the bodhisattvas course in the 6 perfections, too. In the knowledge of all modes. When he thus courses in all dharmas, the bodhisattva acquires the powers and the state of self-confidence, and does not fall on the level of the disciples or pratyeka Buddhas. He then goes beyond the throbbing thoughts and doings of all beings. 0. The growth which has for its mark the fact that one becomes one who belongs to the clan of the Buddhas. Just as, Subhuti, few are on this great earth the spots where, as in the Jambu River, gold and silver are found. Just so, Subhuti, few are the beings who train in this perfect wisdom training, much more numerous those who have set out for the level of the disciples or pratyeka Buddhas. The growth which consists essentially in the sign of the aspiration for the attainment of the fruit of Buddhahood. Just as Subhuti, few are the beings who have done deeds conducive to universal kingship, and much more numerous those who have done deeds conducive to their becoming commanders of a fort. Just so, few are the beings who have mounted on this path leading to all knowledge, and much more numerous those who have mounted on the path of the disciples and pratyeka Buddhas. Fewer than the bodhisattvas who have set out for full enlightenment are those who progress to suchness, but more numerous are those who stand in discipleship and pratyeka Buddhahood. Much more numerous than the sons of good family who belong to the bodhisattva vehicle and who, dwelling in this deep perfection of wisdom, are without any doubt bound to enter on the irreversible stage, are those who do not manage to enter on it. Therefore, then, Subhuti, a bodhisattva who wants to reach the irreversible stage, who wants to be numbered among those who belong to that stage, should train in this deep perfection of wisdom. The growth which in its own being is the non-production in thought of states hostile to the perfections. Moreover, Subhuti, when the bodhisattva courses in perfect wisdom, no thoughts associated with meanness arise in his mind, no thoughts associated with immorality, anger, sloth, distraction, or stupidity, with greed, hate, or delusion, or with rigidity. The growth which, or with form, too, enlightenment. And why? For when the bodhisattva courses in this deep perfection of wisdom, he does not apprehend any dharma, and in consequence he does not raise his thought to any dharma. It is thus that the bodhisattva, the great being who trains in this deep perfection of wisdom, has taken hold of all the 6 perfections, has procured them, has conformed to them. And why? Because in this deep perfection of wisdom all the perfections are contained. The growth which has for its mark the cognition which comprises all perfections. Just as the view of individuality includes the 62 false views, just so all the perfections are included in this deep perfection of wisdom. When a man has died, the stopping of his life faculty implies the stopping of all his faculties. Just so, when the bodhisattva courses in this deep perfection of wisdom, all the other perfections are included. Therefore, then, Subhuti, the bodhisattva who wants to go to the beyond of all the perfections, should train in this deep perfection of wisdom. The growth which implies the acquisition of all the accomplishments. Again, when he trains in this deep perfection of wisdom, the bodhisattva trains in that which is the highest possible degree of perfection for any being. What do you think, Subhuti, if you consider all the beings in the great Trikalyakosm, would they be many? Subhuti. Many, O Lord, many, O well gone. There are many beings even in Jambudvipa alone, and how many more in the great Trikalyakosm? The Lord. If all beings in the great Trikalyakosm would sooner or later, after acquiring a human body, know full enlightenment. And if one single bodhisattva, during his entire life were to furnish them all with robes, alms bowls, lodgings, medicinal appliances for use in sickness, what do you think, Subhuti, does this bodhisattva on the strength of that beget much merit? Subhuti. He does, O Lord. The Lord. Much great merit will that son or daughter of good family beget who will take up this deep perfection of wisdom. Bear it in mind, preach and study it, will wisely attend to it, and who will progress to its thusness. And why? So greatly profitable is the perfection of wisdom of the bodhisattvas, the great beings, as productive of the supreme enlightenment. A bodhisattva should therefore train in just this perfection of wisdom if he wants to arrive at the supreme position among all beings. To become a savior of all those who are helpless, a refuge and final relief to those who so far have found no refuge or final relief. An eye to the blind, a lamp to those plunged into the darkness of ignorance. If he wants to reach Buddhahood, to arrive at the domain of the Buddhas, to sport with a Buddha's sport, to roar a Buddha's lion's roar, to beat the drum and to blow the conch shell of a Buddha, and to explain the Dharma as only a Buddha can do. And why? When the bodhisattva trains in perfect wisdom, he acquires all the accomplishments which he should acquire. Subhuti. Should he also acquire the accomplishments of a disciple or pratyeka Buddha? The Lord. Yes, he should, but he should not abide therein, or rely thereon. After having viewed them with his cognition and vision, he should pass above them, and enter on a bodhisattva's special way of salvation. When he trains thus, the bodhisattva comes near to the knowledge of all modes, and will know the supreme enlightenment. He reaches a condition where he becomes worthy of the donations of the world with its gods, men and asuras. He surpasses others who are worthy of donations, if they are disciples and pratyeka Buddhas, and he comes near to the knowledge of all modes. He does not part from the perfection of wisdom, but he courses in it, is not without it. When he courses thus in this deep perfection of wisdom, he will never again lose interest in the knowledge of all modes, he keeps away from the level of a disciple or pratyeka Buddha, and comes near to the supreme enlightenment. The growth in its own being is the nearness to full enlightenment. But when he thinks to himself, this is the perfection of wisdom. Here is the perfection of wisdom, by this perfection of wisdom shall I bring about the knowledge of all modes. When he cognizes thus, then he does not course in perfect wisdom. On the contrary, he does not cognize this perfection of wisdom. That this is the perfection of wisdom. Here is the perfection of wisdom. That also he does not cognize or see. Or likewise that this one has the perfection of wisdom, by that is the perfection of wisdom, or him who, going forth by this perfection of wisdom, comes to know full enlightenment. But if it occurs to him, not is this the perfection of wisdom, nor is the perfection of wisdom here, nor does through this perfection of wisdom any Dharma go forth. Because fixed and established is the Dharma element, is suchness, is the reality limit. When he courses thus, then the bodhisattva courses in perfect wisdom. End chapter 57. Note. Followers of the bodhisattva vehicle may get more benefit from listening to the sutras actively by reading along with a peaceful voice, and walking on a treadmill very slowly to avoid drowsiness, overthinking, mind-driven, anxiety, nervousness, fear to talk too much or too little.